What did someone do to you that you'll never be able to forgive them for? My mother was extremely abusive and hurt me on many occasions. Her best friend, who was my godmother, saw all of it. She was a teacher and therefore a mandated reporter. She turned a blind eye to everything my mom did. I asked her about it when I was a teenager, and all she said was that my mom didn't really have anyone in her corner, so she needed support. It took me being an adult and going to therapy to understand how much of my mom's behavior was abuse. I'm still horrified that this woman saw so much and actively covered it up. I haven't spoken with her in years, but if I ever got the opportunity, I would ask why she didn't report it, especially since she was a mandated reporter. My stepmom abused me, physically and emotionally, for about 12 years. She was always careful to do it when my dad wasn't around, and justified any incidents I told him about by calling me a liar. But it isn't Bersugar's fault. She's psychologically disturbed because of her mom. My mom is a crystal meth addict in a volatile, abusive marriage. She was also careful to abuse me in interesting ways, too, most of the time, so that it would sound like I was crazy if I reported it. Things like forcing me to run hot water over a burn, using our shop vac to trip me into the side of our wood-burning stove, so that it burned me, digging her fingernails into my shoulder until it bled, etc. to add extra insult to injury. Several years after the divorce, my dad fell in love. His partner was my stepmom's sister. I know it sounds crazy, and I was the opposite of thrilled at first, but she was the most incredible woman my dad ever dated, and I loved her dearly. She passed away in February, due to pneumonia that was complicated by cancer. At the end, she knew she was dying, but she couldn't speak. She communicated with everyone in writing. She wrote down to ask her other sister why Evil X hadn't been to visit her as she lay dying. Her sister told her that Evil X wouldn't come around because of my dad, who would have happily left for a while she came to say goodbye to her sister. He made sure Evil X knew this, too. My dad's partner cried on her deathbed and wrote back, "She's still my little sister and I love her." She never went to visit, and spends her time these days complaining to everyone who will listen that my dad is evil incarnate for stopping her from saying goodbye to her sister. It's a small town, everybody knows everybody, and my dad's gotten a lot of flack for it, despite that it's 100% a lie. So, yeah, it's her. I won't ever forgive her. My ex-best friend was quite toxic and depressed. She used her depression to keep me and other people under her arms, and to manipulate them. For example, when I was disagreeing with her, she would change her whole mindset to the depressed mode and would cut her wrist, sometimes in front of me, sometimes a bit later. She would also slit her wrist in front of the whole class before or during oral assignments. Each time I was very worried for her and was feeling guilty of her suffering. I was doing everything I could to please her and to make her feel good, thinking it would help her fighting depression. One day, while talking about what we were going to do after high school, we came to a disagreement and she started to cry again, and I tried to recomfort her like usual. The next day, I went with my usual friends group, but they were very cold with me. Her boyfriend at the time told me I had nothing to do here with them. They started to say that I was a bad person and that it was all my fault she was hurt. Turned out she told each of our friends that I called her crazy the night before and that I was a very bad and mean person. They all took side by her, leaving me alone. I invested so much of my heart and trust in her, for more than 12 years. I thought we had something strong. I thought it was going the same way for her, but it seemed that I was nothing for her. It really broke me to lose her so suddenly, and she knew exactly what she was doing. Had a 2020 COVID wedding. Restrictions were being listed and we were thrilled that we could have any type of event. The one issue is we had to cap guests at 50. My aunt said that she wanted to be there and would come and see me take pictures if there wasn't room. I finally was able to invite her. Dad's family is huge, so needed a large group of no's before I could invite all his siblings, and was overjoyed to call and tell her. She asked what restrictions were in place. I explained it would be a 3-hour reception, what the food would be and what the smaller bar would be. "No problem," she said. 10 minutes later her wife calls me. She's a notoriously picky eater and said she won't eat the food. She didn't want to sit there and be hungry. I offered a vegetarian plate or even a plate of mac and cheese. She then said that she was upset that the bar selection didn't have her beer and she wouldn't come because she can't drink anything. So she, and my aunt who really wanted to be there, didn't show up because Coors Light wasn't on the menu. I wish I was kidding.